Did you want to close the blinds behind you for the video purposes? I'm not really an expert on that. But...
You're talking to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has her logo behind her.
You know, it's just,
which is probably the smarter way.
Well, it is. I mean, the problem for me is that, you know, by the time Jim
No, that's what should be on the
gets
blind.
out of here, it should be, yeah.
That's we should have
just, in fact, I might be able to do that. I actually have a thought on that. But we have so little time to get set up
right
from Jim until we start the show that half the time it's just, as long as the camera's on and I'm somewhere in frame, that's about the best we can hope for. I don't know. Hey, Barb, can you say something?
Test 1 2, test 1 2. How do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear her. It's low, but it doesn't matter if it's slow as long as it's recording okay.
Test.
I mean,
test.
again, I think the problem is in the headphone amp.
well, you can turn that up.
I do, but it's here. Listen to what I'm listening to because I think I can turn it up, but
Sound check. Is now a good time to sell a house in Colorado or not? Do you think the values are going up or not?
Yeah, that's always the case with these. Okay, Barb.
Okay.
that wasn't anything weird that I did.
No.
Okay.
Are you good, Barb?
I'm ready.
All right. I'll count us down in three, in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is also a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday, and if you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or simply search for Barb on most of the podcast platforms like iHeartRadio, Spotify, etc. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of the largest assets for most people, the home. So, Barb, what are we going to be covering today?
Well, Richard, the first topic I'm going to cover is now a good time to sell a house in Colorado? It's funny. It depends on who you talk to. Some people are out there saying, oh, the market's terrible and nothing's selling. And then I met with an appraiser yesterday. He goes, I have more business now than I've ever had. So it really depends. And the next topic we're going to cover is, can a Colorado home seller change their mind once they accept an offer? We'll also include in that segment kind of the process from contract to closing, so you know what to expect. I just met with a home seller yesterday, and they're having experiences with a different agent that don't sound right, and they're confused and not sure, what's going to happen next. So it's always good to have somebody that really has the expertise to know what's going to happen next and have the sellers prepared so they don't make a mistake. And then the third topic is how to sell your home in Colorado for the most amount of money. It's not what you think. Some people think if they price it really high, that's how you get the most money. But at the end of the day, that doesn't work. And last but not least are the top mistakes that home sellers make that can cause a home not to sell. And as always, I love covering my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, we're heading into the spring selling season, and the Fed seems uncertain about lowering interest rates while demand is lower than it was last year. What kind of market are we in right now? A buyer's market where the buyer has the advantage, or a seller's market where it's the other way around?
Well, I will say that it's leaning a little bit more towards a buyer's market right now. And that's solely because there's a lot more available homes on the market. So buyers have more choices. And there are quite a few buyers still to this day. Just yesterday, I talked to one that told us we're just going to maybe sit on the sidelines and see if the rates come down. Now, I don't believe the rates are going to come down at all. That will be anything substantial between now and the end of the year. So I really don't feel like that's a good strategy if you're a buyer. I have all different kinds of automated value data points. I have two different research companies that I use. One of them actually provides projections of where home values are going. So I looked at a property that we bought as an investment recently, and I was very surprised to see in the next 3 years, right now it's worth 406. In 3 years, it's going to be worth 445. So I'm like, if you're a buyer, I wouldn't wait around for the rates to come down because you're never really going to catch up if the home values start going back up. And mortgage rates, basically, they've been almost the same now for the last, 3 months, 4 months, something like that, hovering between around 7-ish% for conventional and the mid to low sixes for the government loans, which would be VA, FHA, and things like USDA and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think what's going on is we're going to see the rates stay pretty steady going through the summer, but we're going to see more inventory on the market, more competition for home sellers. Yet, if they price it right, that is the way that you're going to get the most money when you sell your home. You want to make sure before you put your home on the market that you're absolutely the best home for the best price. And that is actually the way to get the most money. And it's interesting to me that it seems like the buyers are very well educated on the market, even more so than a lot of agents, because they're actively looking on all these tech company websites. So they can see not only the asking price for your home, but they can also see all the homes around it, what the website company thinks those homes' values are. And in just seconds, they can figure out whether or not that home is a good buy or not. So they understand, and they're waiting for the right deal before they actually go out and say, hey, I want to buy this house. Now, the interesting part is that right now, homes are actually selling faster. We just got new statistics from May, and the average days on market actually dropped a bit by about 6 days. So that's good for home sellers. That means more buyers are out in the buyer pool looking for homes. But the big shock to me was that the number of available homes is really surging up, especially as compared to last year. As compared to last year, we have 28% more homes. So just to put that in a numerical perspective, let me test my eyes here. Last year, this time, there were about 2,600 homes in the Pikes Peak MLS, and right now there's almost 3,700 homes. That's a big surge just in 1 year in the number of available homes for sale. And so that tells me that the prices could tend to drop a little bit if buyers are finding other options, and homes aren't going to quite sell as fast. But it's also okay to stay the course for a while right now. We've put a couple of homes on the market just in the past few weeks when I was expecting to see this big surge up front, and it didn't really happen. But then all of a sudden we're getting multiple offers 2-3 weeks in. A lot of that has to do with the time of year. I just remember from years ago, if you take a hard look at this time of year, early June is when a lot of people, the kids just got out of school, graduation's done, they're going on vacation. So there might be a little bit of what we call the June gloom for sales in the early part of June, but then I really feel like it's going to take off. And just looking at the stats for different local areas like El Paso County, the median list price is pretty much, staying the same. Not a big surge right now, but inventory definitely is heading back up. Average days on market about 74 days. And here's the thing, I wouldn't worry too much about that number. Sometimes sales are very local, and then it's very particular to your home. There are rarely two homes that are exactly the same. So some homes have different features and benefits than others do. So if you position your home to be the best it can be on the market with price, condition, marketing, who you choose for an agent, you're going to win. Places like Douglas County, the prices are heading back up, but so is the inventory. Average days on market in Douglas County is about 66 days. If you look at places like Teller County, now Teller County is right now coming into its prime season. The Texans all come up from Texas and they love going up to Teller County. It's so beautiful. If you try to drive up there on a Friday afternoon, you will definitely be stuck in traffic, guaranteed. Because all the people with campers and stuff like that are heading up there. It's just gorgeous up there this time of year. But we're seeing kind of a waggling of the median price in the mid fives. The average days on market is dropping, though. It was up over 110 days, and now it's dropping below that. And the inventory is coming back up. Other areas like Pueblo, the prices are heading back up and the days on market kind of flat. But if you just consider the time of year, this is the beginning of the prime season for selling, and it's going to go through the summer. And as long as all the stars align, and you decide to price it right, promote it right, make sure you're picking the right agent that knows how to get the right exposure for your home, it's okay. You just have to be a little bit more patient and you're going to win. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about basically, what is it that is this the, oh God, let me try that again. I got all these kind of different definitions of this title here. Okay. We're talking about, is now a good time to sell your home or should you wait? And when we come back, we're going to talk about what home sellers should expect and plan if they are going to sell their home this summer. And if you are thinking of making a move, that's what we do for people all the time. It's a free in-home consultation on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale. We'll go over all the closing costs, give you a really good idea what you'll put in your pocket when it sells, and show you what the market will command. Right now, we're sitting on over 28,128 buyers in waiting just on my little website. Typically, we can find at least 800 high matches for your home. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing the Fed's recent increase on the Fed borrowing rate and whether or not it has an effect on the housing market. So what should home sellers expect and do in this market situation?
Well, I wouldn't worry too much about the Fed right now. Honestly, I feel like the Fed doesn't have a lot of impact on mortgage rates right now. They have some impact on the way banks get money, but mortgage rates are really more controlled by the bond market. And it fluctuates pretty much every day throughout the whole business day. We see lots of changes in the mortgage interest rates. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think in general, a lot of the buyers have figured out, hey, this is the new norm. And really, a rate hovering just under 7% is a really low rate. If you go back and you look in history and time, when I started in the business back in the late 90s, I think the rates were hovering around 9 or 10%. Within a few years, it dropped down to 7. And I remember my broker doing the happy dance saying this is the lowest rate we've seen in 50 years. Well, here we are again. The government quit meddling with interest rates, which I think is probably a good idea. And it's a good rate. You can still save a little extra money to buy the rate down. There's lots of options out there. And I will tell you, if you're a veteran and you have a loan that you're willing to let a borrower assume with the low interest rate, that makes your home the hottest home on the market. Talk to us. We do this all the time. It might be an option for you to command top dollar without really doing anything, and no risk to your credit and no risk to you being able to use your VA loan again. So give me a call if you're interested in that at 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She is your real estate voice. And if you're making a move, give Barb a call, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing, can a Colorado home seller change their mind after they accept an offer? Don't miss that. I like that. I printed something out here.
I will say that your graphic has been the same all the way through that first segment, just to let you know.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I just know that you like to have the verbiage up there on the screen, and
Yeah, sometimes. I don't know. I really don't know how many people actually watch it on YouTube and pay attention to the graphics. I don't think it's all that critical, but yeah, we'll see.
maybe this is a way to test that out.
Yeah, good idea.
Hey, you didn't.
Quit driving the mouse, I'm going to quit driving. You're very observant, DJ.
I'm detail oriented.
I'm not.
So sometimes annoyingly so, but
Yeah. I mean, I know what I have to focus on. There are
Right.
some details I'll pay really close attention to, only because they bit me at some point in the past. So, but in general, it's a challenge to make that happen for sure.
I've also been an engineer, so
Oh, there you go. That makes sense.
yeah. Have to make sure that all the stars align and we stay on the air. So I'm ready to record
All right.
segment 2. Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I had somebody wanted me to give him a ride home from the hospital.
I'm buying new coins.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't know this guy all that well. I mean, we're friends, but I don't know him all that well. And he's in pretty bad shape. And I think it'd be better if a family member like his daughter did that, because I don't want to be.
Or an Uber?
Or an Uber, yeah. I
Like
mean,
they get paid for this.
I hate to think like a lawyer, but you just were. All you need to do is trip getting out of my car or whatever. And I just.
You can't be too careful these days. You really can't.
When you've been an attorney, you really do think different. I will say that, for better or for worse. All right. Let me get a clock here and I'm good to go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. This is the weekly radio show with, hang on, I forgot to stop my clock here. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the program. We air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday, and if you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or search Barb. You'll find her on most of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Now, Barb, a real estate sale is a business and legal transaction that must be in writing. I know the contracts can be very intimidating for some folks, but you've been doing this for a while. Can a home seller change their mind after accepting an offer here in Colorado?
Well, Richard, I had somebody tell me once, you can't ever force anybody to buy and you can't force anybody to sell. But if the buyer wanted to press it, they could take you to court, get damages, sue you, and make you sell and do all three. So I don't know why there's such a big stick against home sellers in this state. There's no stick against inspectors, and they create all kinds of issues for me. But that's just how the contracts are written. The buyers have all kinds of opportunity to bail out of the contract and get their deposit back, no harm, no foul. But in the meantime, the seller has to basically tie up their property with this buyer, waiting for them to go through all of the different due diligence hoop jumps until it's a firm deal. And so sellers don't love that part of the way our state contracts are written. I don't either. But at least if they have some good information about what to expect, it's not quite so frustrating for them. In the state of Colorado, all licensed agents must use the form that we've been provided, because we're not attorneys. We're supposed to understand what's in the contract, but we're not lawyers. And really all we're qualified to do in the form of practicing law is fill out the template form that they gave us. That is it. Now, there's a few agents that will start adding these big blue extraordinary paragraphs, and that's when I start getting a little bit nervous. As an example, the seller, get this, Richard, imagine getting this in a contract. The seller must disclose anything that affects the future value or the buyer's future use. Would you sign that?
I would not, and I would have to have a discussion and a negotiation between attorneys and the parties involved, because that is so open. I don't even really know what that would entail. It just sounds like any possible thing that could happen at any possible time in the future that would have an impact, financial or otherwise, would be under consideration. As a former trial attorney, I would not sign that.
Yeah. And I was, first time I saw it, I'm like, whoa, danger, Will Robinson, what the heck is this? And I kept seeing it over and over again in the contract. So what these agents do is they get offers, they see it in there and go, oh, that's cool. Let me use that little phrase in the contract. So I finally asked one, I said, where did this come from? And she goes, oh, a lawyer wrote it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I bet a lawyer that really wants lawsuits to happen, because asking a seller to guarantee the buyer's future use is, to me, is insanity. It really puts the seller on the hook after closing forever. So some of the stuff that happens is really interesting to me. So you want to make sure as a home seller that you're protected and you understand everything that's in the contract. That's how it was supposed to be written, that the consumers understand what's going on and there's no legalese built in there that's confusing to them. And some agents just shove an agreement and have their client sign it, and they don't have to explain it. I'd like to explain it. But anyway, at the end of the day, all agents have to use the same form. And within that form, the buyers have 8 to 10 different ways to bail out and get their earnest money back. No harm, no foul. And the sellers are thinking, okay, this is great. I got a contract. I've sold my house. I'm going to start packing. I'm getting ready to move. And oops, no, but it's only going to happen if the buyer gets approved for the loan, if the buyer likes their loan, if the buyer likes the title work, if the buyer is satisfied with the survey, if the buyer is satisfied with the HOA, if the house passes the inspection, if the house passes the appraisal, and the buyer doesn't change their mind at the 11:30 hour. All those opportunities are built into the contract that they could literally walk away and get their earnest money back at the closing table. No harm, no foul. And in the meantime, the seller has got their house off the market for 30 days, waiting for these buyers to do their quote due diligence. And it's really, really frustrating when they have a deal blow up. So the question is, can sellers, cancel that deal and move on to the next? First of all, they can accept a backup offer. Backup offer, basically, once they've accepted a contract, is a legal written business contract between buyer and seller to sell this piece of property. They can't, the seller can't really bail out, right? Unless the buyer asks for something outside of the original contract, like, hey, I want a new furnace. I want new windows. I want fries with that too. You know, that does happen sometimes. The seller doesn't have to agree to it. And if the buyer is still back in the buyer's court, if they don't withdraw their objection or their request for stuff, then the buyer could get out and move to the next buyer. But if they do withdraw, they're moving forward. So I remember one time when they first changed that little provision in the contract, I had somebody call me. He wasn't my client, thank God, because he was under contract for a house and he didn't really understand that he wanted this house, but he asked for a long laundry list of repairs. And the seller had a backup offer sitting there. So the seller's like, well, I'm not going to do any of these repairs. He just didn't answer the objection. And the buyer didn't say, okay, forget it. I'm going to withdraw my repairs and buy this house. His agent didn't tell him to do that. And so the buyer lost the house. And then I was the recipient of the phone call after the fallout where he lost the house that he wanted. And he was pretty upset. But that's why it's so important that when you hire a real estate agent, they really understand what's going on. So the question is, what happens next within the contract? When can the seller confidently start packing and be 100% sure that this is going to go through? So usually the most common way deals will fall apart is over an inspection. So in the state of Colorado, there's no license to be an inspector. Anybody could be an inspector, which is really scary. And some of the things that they do, like just last week, some doofus inspector decided to check the sewer line. He pulled the little square cap off of there. The seal inside dropped down the sewer line and is clogging it up. It's like, oh my God, that's it. No more. I've got this new rule starting this week that I'm telling anybody else that gets a contract on my listing, don't touch the sewer line. If your buyer wants to check it out, you bring in a licensed plumber that knows what they're doing, because these guys are not qualified to do it. You know, and different states are different. Like in Texas, the buyers only have 10 days to do their due diligence. And at that point, the deposit is non-refundable. That is not the case here. The buyer could bail out at the closing table and still get their earnest money back. So if you hire an agent that knows how to protect you from that, that would be the best way. Another issue could be the appraisal. So inspection is about the systems. Appraisal is about the opinion of value by a licensed person. And that licensed person has to confirm that the home meets the loan guidelines. So it's different for different loans. Like I just met an appraiser yesterday and he was looking in the crawl space. He's looking for water in there. He has to check the attic. He's looking for peeling paint because the type of loan, that kind of stuff is really good for agents to understand that. That way they can help the seller prepare, because they've already gone through this request for inspection repairs. Then the appraiser comes along and says, hey, buyer, you can't get your loan unless these things are fixed. And who fixes them? Well, the contract doesn't really say. It just says the buyer has to tell the seller. And typically it ends up being the seller fixing them, but the seller could put their foot down and go, that's for your loan, you fix it, you know? So you need an agent that's strong enough that really understands that and just doesn't be the messenger of all these issues, rather than somebody that really protects your best interest. You could still take a backup offer. And if buyer number one, for some reason, defeats their contracts, like on inspection, or if they ask for stuff on appraisal, that's enough to open the door for buyer number two to get the house. And we know how to play that game. Very nerve-wracking for me, by the way. But for appraisal purposes, just one example would be for the government loans like VA, FHA. You want to check that your house doesn't have peeling paint. It's just safety stuff, missing outlet covers, broken windows, any trip hazards, broken fencing, all that kind of stuff. So we can help you do that. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And it's called Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about whether or not a seller can bail out of a contract, or they have to just wait the whole process out. And when we come back, we're going to touch on a few things, some protections that we could put in place for you. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301 3,900. We have over 28,178 buyers in waiting, and we can sit down and show you our buyers as well as give you a really good idea what your home will sell for. Richard?
Now, Barb, we're discussing the real estate contracts and provisions that can be inserted into the contracts to protect both buyers and sellers. We know that buyers have plenty of ways to get out of a contract, but what are some of the contract provisions that will actually help home sellers?
Well, look very carefully to see that your buyer has a house to sell or not. You know, it's just one little date that's stuck in the table of dates and deadlines and one little sentence buried in paragraph 10. You want to make sure you read that contract, because if you're waiting for somebody else to sell your home, that's not a firm deal. You might wait for months. It may never happen. So you need to be aware of that and hire somebody that really knows how to handle sale contingencies to protect you. We not only know those things, but we can also back them up with our cash offer system, where we can get their home sold with a cash buyer. That way they can buy your home without a sale contingency. Earnest deposit pretty much goes back to the buyer unless you have other protections built into the contract. So we know how to do all this. So if you are thinking of making a move, you want to make sure that you work with somebody that really has your back, that knows how to give you certainty all the way through the process. So give us a call anytime, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short intermission. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to sell your Colorado home and sell it for the very most money. Stay tuned for that. Ta-da! I'm going to run real quickly to the men's room. And I'll be right back.
Did you like that one, DJ?
I did. It was
A
fun.
new one, different one.
And I know you love when you can get your jabs in on the inspectors.
It will never end.
talking about. And I'm like, my God, by now, wouldn't we have thought we had abated, scraped off all of this paint or covered it or whatever the hell that is still even an issue is kind of stunning to me. All right. Where you go here? Oh, there we are. Barbara, are you good?
I am.
Yeah, I think so too. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program. And this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. It does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, in this market, there are many more homes that are not selling. What are ways that a home seller can get the most money when they are selling their home?
Well, a lot of people tend to want to price their homes high for negotiating room, but that's the worst thing you can do, especially in a market that's somewhat soft or mushy like this one is. And there's a lot more, almost 30% more homes on the market than there were a year ago. There's a lot of buyers just waiting for the right deal. So the way you get the most money is to make sure that you're priced right, that you're promoted properly, and that you're the best available home on the market right now. So that means you got to take a really sharp look at not only what has sold in the past, but what's currently available right now to make those decisions about how to get the most money when you sell. And there are actually 5 key ways to do it. First of all, you want to make sure that you have like a plan that will save you a lot of money. Nothing can be more frustrating for home sellers to put their house on the market and show it week after week after week and not have any offers. That's very disappointing for home sellers. And a lot of times they don't understand, well, I put my house on the market. Why aren't there showings? Why aren't there offers? It could be a lot of things. It could be one thing. It could be maybe a couple of things. But you have to make sure in all aspects that you get everything right, the right condition, the right price. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be remodeled. I will say that we've sold quite a few homes that were not, all fluffied up and looking really great. Nope, not necessarily. If the seller prices it right, we can get a buyer, and we can get a buyer fast. But you have to understand it's a different price. It's not full market value if you have deferred maintenance. Most buyers want to move in, drop their stuff, and get on with their lives. So 40% of them won't even look at a home that needs work. However, if it's a better house that falls into their budget, they're willing to do it. So it's all about pricing. That's probably the most important thing to become the best deal on the market. The other thing that's absolutely critical is hiring an agent that knows how to market. I get a lot of people calling me wanting me to rescue them from whatever their agent is doing for various reasons. And I can't do much while they're under an agreement with them, but afterwards I definitely can. And we'll sit down with them and we'll show them, what were the reasons why it didn't sell. We'll show them what the market's doing, and then they can make their best decision. And you have to understand, your very first showing is on the internet. It's like online speed. Let me say that again. It's like online speed dating. You only have seconds to make an impression. And there's certain pictures that have to be there first. Curb appeal, the backyard, the living room, the kitchen, the master bathroom, and the master bedroom. If you only have less than a minute for them to flip through those pictures, they better be the first 5 or 6, and they better be really good, because we know that buyers sometimes eliminate homes in less than 57 seconds. I talk to them all the time about this, and they'll tell me, oh yeah, sometimes the first picture, I'm gone. And it's interesting to me that I don't know what it is about the real estate industry, but there's no standardization, there's no how-to, there's no job description. Each agent creates their own job description or how to in their mind. And it could be right and it could be wrong. I just know that you have to win the buyer's hearts and mind first online, If they don't like what they see online, they will not leave their fuzzy bunny slippers and come check out their house. They just won't waste the time or the gas money to do it. Okay. So it's simple mistakes like this photo I'm showing you right now. The shower curtain's closed. You know what that means? Oh, there's probably mold back there. That's what the buyers think. The rugs on the floor are ugly. The kitty litter box would probably eliminate about 60% of the buyers. And then Kitty has her own toilet paper here. You've got all this clutter on the counter. And clearly you've got the listing agent in the photo in the mirror. So she was too cheap to take professional photos. She didn't know how to properly stage it. This whole condo was poorly marketed, and it was sitting on the market during the boom where it should have flown off the shelf. But instead, the agent told the seller to lower the price. But that wasn't the problem. It was already priced aggressively. She just didn't know how to win the hearts and minds of the buyers on the internet, and therefore it didn't sell. It doesn't take much to win over a buyer. And the whole idea behind marketing is not to show them every nook and cranny of the home. It's to get them there and maybe have a few really exciting surprises after they get there. And people just don't study it. Plus, we have our multiple listing services that puts a kind of wrench in the marketing game. They have some really stupid rules. Like if you're looking at a big piece of land, we're not allowed to put the line around it so you can show the boundary of the land. Oh, can't do that. We also, if we're going to virtually stage an empty room, we have to include the pictures of the empty rooms, which in my view tells the whole world that it's empty and invites vandalism. So I have a way around it. And so far, I haven't been taken to the MLS police too much and gotten busted, but it does happen occasionally. The other issue is many real estate agents don't know how to solve the buyer's dilemma of having a house to sell. So what happens if they have a buyer that sees a house and go, oh, I love that home. I want to buy that home, but I can't buy it until I sell this home. They don't have a solution for it. Many times I'll get the phone call. So will your seller accept a sale contingency? And really what they're asking is, Mr. Seller, will you tie up your house for months and months and wait for me to maybe sell mine? And that's a ridiculous question, right? You have to have some kind of certainty in place because they have to make plans and move as well. So we have solutions for that. We have our cash offer buyers that will come in and absolutely buy almost any home that we put in there for a reasonable price so they can buy my listing, which makes my listings more valuable. So we offer that program. There's also other programs where I try to educate the other agents about it. There's 3 or 4 investors that will basically let the home seller take their equity out of the home without having a payment. And that's a really cool thing because you don't have to sell your home first, and you have the opportunity to buy the home that you want without having to get a new loan. Some people just go get a home equity line of credit, which is okay, but the rates are high and you got to make payments on that. So that solution of having the ball and chain of a house to sell really is a problem for many buyers, and it's a problem for many home sellers, and we definitely have that solution for you. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. Not all real estate agents are the same. It's 1 month of school to get your license. There's no training, no standardization, and they send you out there and go sell, figure it out, bring me some of that commission. That's unfortunately how it works. But I have been trained, and I've been doing this 29 years, and I have solutions for people. So if you are thinking of making a move, we'd love to be one of the companies you interview. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And what we're talking about right now is how to sell your home for the most money. When we come back, what we're going to cover is some more ways that you can make sure that you've sold your home for the most money. Richard?
We're here talking with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach Barb at 719-301-30. I'm sorry. Jeez.
How many times have you said that number?
Well, no, you know what? The problem is my screen just like poofed up, and I'm like, it threw me off here. I don't know what the heck was even happening. Let's go back to the beginning of that. 3, 2, 1. We're here talking with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and you can reach Barb at 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, you've highlighted 3 of the 5 keys to maximize your sales price when you're selling a home. Be the best home on the block, create demand with aggressive marketing, and solve buyer problems. But tell us about the last 2.
Well, one of probably the most important ones is negotiating. I find this topic really, really interesting because there's very little training out there for real estate agents on negotiating. There's a few books about it, but at the end of the day, I don't think a lot of agents have training on it. They have a buyer, they show the buyer. They're maybe not really trained on how to ask the buyer for the order. I was just discussing that this morning with one of my clients. She was telling me that this one agent had been in her home, no kidding, with buyers 6 times and never wrote an offer. So it's like, wow, that to me sounds like a selling skill problem and nothing else, So, but negotiating at the end of the day is not something they train in the industry. I know that's true for you in the legal business, right, Richard?
It is. You have to do so much of this after you get out of law school. You learn it. Sometimes you have a mentor or somebody in the law firm that'll help you out with it. But a lot of it is kind of like you had to. You learn it on the job. But that was a long time ago for you. I wouldn't want to trust some new person learning on the job if I were selling my house.
Yeah, I mean, because first of all, they hire us really to be the go-between between their client and my client, right? So we are supposed to be negotiating, but at the end of the day, I am not the decision maker. I had some agent a couple weeks ago that was like, "Well, I want to discuss it with you," and her offer was so far apart. It was like a $600,000 home. Their offer came in 85,000 below. The seller's like, I'm sorry. No, why are you bothering me with that?" And I'm like, "Well, I have an obligation to present all offers. I don't care how low they are." I said, "We could counter." And they're like, "No, we're not even in the ballpark. They're not worth trying." So at the end of the day, not everybody understands how to get the seller to the negotiating table, right? If they are looking for concessions or whether or not they're even going to get concessions at all. And then the circumstances play into that an awful lot. Like we're working with a client right now, and we were the first week, it was a little slow on the market. And then all of a sudden, this afternoon, we're going to be presenting about 4 or 5 offers to him. And many of the agents are calling, they're going, "Oh, well, will he accept a discount?" They're asking questions like that. Or they'll say, "How motivated is your seller?" And I finally told one agent, I said, "Look, I work for the seller. How do you think I'm going to answer that question? My job is to get the most for the seller or get them what they want. You want me to say, 'Oh, sure, they're motivated. They'll give you a discount just because you asked.'" Now, there might be some agents that answer that question, but I know the agreement I have with my client, which is to, meet their goals basically. And I can't answer that question, but I also can't be the one that answers about whether or not the seller will accept less. If I did, I would have to do that with absolute permission from the seller. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I say. What matters is what's in writing between the buyer and seller when it comes to real estate. So some agents really aren't trained to do it. A lot of them think that their job is to get stuff, and they sort of lose sight on the goal of, hey, my job is to actually get the buyer the house or get the seller sold. So there's a lot of communication that takes place, and some agents will focus on the house's flaws and try to talk the buyer out of it, or say, "I deserve a discount just because of this, or because you didn't give me that discount, you're going to give me this discount." No, that's false logic. So sometimes you have to kind of educate them in a very polite way and say, "Nope, that's not how it works. I'll discuss it with the seller, because at the end of the day, I have an obligation to present all offers, and it's not my call, it's their call." And so all those things take place during a transaction. It's really fun to do. It's my favorite part. So if you are thinking of making a move, you definitely want to hire somebody that has expertise in that arena as well as all others. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice. That's the name of the program. And Barb is the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach Barb at 719-301-3900. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the top seller mistakes that can cause a home to not even sell, plus Barb's hot new listings. Stay tuned for that.
Could you say the website? Just here as if you were coming right after the phone number, because you didn't give that piece.
Oh, okay.
Just say, or visit.
I see what you're saying. You're listening to Barb Schlinker. I'm sorry, 321. You're listening to Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice. You can always reach her at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. When we come back, we'll be discussing that, or Barb has the buyers.
barbhasthebuyers.com.
Okay.
Just that.
I'm sorry, it wasn't anywhere on the script. That's
No,
why
it's
it
fine.
wasn't there. Okay. Barbhasthebuyers.com.
Or visit.
Okay. 321.
Okay.
You can call 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com.
Sorry for the confusion.
No, it's okay, because I'm looking at the script. I'm going, no, I
it's
read
cool.
everything that was
Yep.
here. And in fact, I had a little bit of a delay.
It's just more important now
No,
that
it is,
we're on
absolutely.
other formats.
Yes, absolutely. Mhm. Mhm.
BJ, next
Yes,
week,
ma'am.
well, we can talk after. Next week, my son's going to be in town celebrating his 30th birthday.
Do you need the day off?
I'm trying to decide, should I do the show? Should I pass on the show and just do a best of, or what do you think?
We can do a repeat. We can do a lot of different things. You should not have to tie yourself to this show with other events going on.
Yeah, I might take a pause. I haven't had a pause in a while,
Absolutely.
and you could maybe conjure up some kind of whatever your favorite segments are.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
have them all, so I mean, I can go back 3 years.
Wow. I don't know how you do that with audio, but that would be good. I'd rather focus on them and not worry about it.
Absolutely. You could deal with a day off too, couldn't you, Richard?
I am so burned out. I can't even,
Are you?
I've never been like this. And it's such a weird feeling, because when I've heard people talk about burned out before, I thought I kind of knew what they were talking about, but this is a whole different thing. It's new to me, but it's not good.
So the short answer is yes, we could use a day off.
Okay. Yeah.
Make
Well,
it.
we're going to Pikes Peak. I don't know why they want to do that. I brought those oxygen bottles, those boost things. Have you ever tried those?
I have not, but
I don't need it.
they work very well.
Huh?
I've heard they work very well. I just
Do
haven't
they?
personally done it.
Well, they're all flatlanders. So I'm worried that we're going to get up there and they're going to start really feeling yucky, so
Absolutely.
I got myself a dozen of these bottles where they could.
That might be more than you need, but I'd rather have too many than not enough.
Yeah. So
Okay, I am good. And
Have you used the oxygen tanks?
yes, yeah.
When you're hiking or anything like that?
No, you know what? I have them with, and mostly I had them for a while. I was having difficulty breathing at night. And I don't know if it's not COP or whatever that thing is. In fact, my wife does have that, and she's got a device that she sleeps really, really sound. whatever it was, I couldn't sleep on my back is what the problem was. And when I tried doing that, my oxygen level went down. So I would use that thing. And I don't know, I probably did that for a month or two. And then I just realized if I lay on my side, I didn't have the problem at all. And the oxygen rate was, just fine.
Hmm.
Did I ever think I was going to have to goof around with stuff like this when I got older? No, in fact, I did not.
She said she's going hiking with some flatlanders. That's why.
Oh, no, I would absolutely take that stuff with.
We're
Yes.
going to Pikes Peak.
Yep.
I don't want them
Absolutely.
afterwards because they're going to want to go to the bar after.
Yes.
After.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, you guys have to have some oxygen.
And I made the mistake of doing that when the first time I did Pikes Peak and got back down to Manitou. And I did it in 2 days, went up, to bar camp, hit the summit, and then came all the way back down to Manitou on the second day. It was hard. And then, it was like, well, let's go get something to eat and drink at the Loop. I don't even know if that place is still there or not, but that was a bad idea. Decidedly bad idea to be.
Didn't feel too good. Huh?
Well, you're just so completely exhausted. And so I think actually bringing the oxygen is just a great idea. In fact, I would have to say if anybody's coming out here, they're going to go skiing or something in the winter. You know what? Buy that stuff at the airport, have it with you because you haven't been out here before. You're going to find out that one drink or two drinks is about all you can handle at the altitude. And it's going to take you away time to acclimatize, and you don't want to be laying there at 2:00 in the morning when you've had too much to drink or something. And I don't know. You're smart to do it, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I'm just worried about him. I'm like, my brother came out. He lives in Florida. He came out this couple years back in the fall. And I'd never seen his face turn so white.
Yeah.
Poor guy. I thought he was going to pass out. He did not feel good.
Well, and Florida is as flat land as you can get. I mean,
That's true.
You get in the Midwest, some of the Great Plains states at least have got, more altitude, but when you're going from pretty much sea level to, we're 6,500 just here before you even start going up the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I got a listing up it's next to Cripple Creek. It's in Colorado Mountain Estates. And
okay.
I went up to visit them and did their listing about a week ago. And I didn't feel too good.
Yeah.
I live at about 7,400, just that 2,000 difference was enough.
Wow.
So,
well, you know what? I'm actually sitting here and I'm trying to think of the last time I was actually up at altitude. Because, gosh, it seems like since COVID, I'm wondering if I've even been up very high since COVID. I'm not thinking I have.
yeah. And used to be like a black diamond skier, right?
Yeah. And I mean, 14ers all the time and everything.
It's amazing.
All right. COVID really did change so much stuff. I mean, almost everybody I talk with, young, old, doesn't matter, what their life is, their gender, age, whatever. It just had a massive change in their life, and none of it was for the good. Mm-hmm. All right. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice and the host of the program, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most home sellers have a great deal of love for their properties, and sometimes that translates into a bit of an unrealistic belief, resulting in mistakes that could cost them thousands or the house not to sell. What are the top seller mistakes that can cause a home not to sell or to sell for far less than expected?
Well, Richard, I think the number one mistake that a lot of home sellers make is about pricing. Not all of them, but some of them, I would say a huge majority of them want the most money, which I understand that. Of course, it's a valuable asset, but at the end of the day, it's not the seller that decides what it's going to sell for. It's not Zillow that decides what it's going to sell for. It's not, other homes around them that are going to decide what it's going to sell for. It's actually the buyer that makes the best offer, right? And you'll be able to tell whether or not you're going to attract the buyer that makes the best offer based on the volume of showings, the volume of phone calls, the interest, the feedback, all those things kind of come together that will give you a clue that yes, this is going to work out just fine. And it's really interesting. I mean, I think one of the biggest mistakes with regard to pricing that home sellers make is that they price it too high, and then they wait and wait and wait. They wait past important seasons, like the summertime might be the best time to sell a home up in Teller County when it's all green and beautiful and all that. You could probably go into the fall, but then once the leaves drop, it's not as attractive, right? So if you price it too high and wait out that whole entire season and you're not getting the activity, then you've kind of missed the boat for that season. And it's unfortunate they do it. And according to the National Association of Realtors, if you price a home too high and then slowly walk the price down, home sellers on average net less money. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but it is true at the end of the day. And buyers are so savvy right now. They're looking all over. They know what's on the market. They are looking at all the online things. They're favoriting their best homes, and they're going out and they're grabbing the ones that are most attractive to them. So it's really, really important that you make it look attractive online first to get them there. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be remodeled. It means that it has to be the best deal available. Not all the homes that I sell are completely remodeled. Some are sold as is, where is, with all of their faults. However, there are some simple improvements that you can make that will help it sell faster. One of them is flooring. Like if you have tired carpet that's worn and you take a picture of it and you can see the traffic areas, it really is time to replace it. Another example would be just simple stuff like curb appeal. I put a home on the market this week where the curb appeal for the actual home that I'm listing was great, but the neighbor had all this junk out in front of their garage. It looked terrible. So fortunately, I have the staff that can digitally make those things go away, but I can't control what the neighbor does. So is that a mistake? Not necessarily, but it could affect the buyer, because typically the steps are they see it online. If they like what they see, they're going to favorite it. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to get in their car and drive by it first, right? So they're going to see if they like the neighborhood, the area, that sort of thing. And if you pass that test, then they will make a request to come check it out. And my husband and I helped our son buy a home out in California. And that was actually our process. I tried to get into the local MLS out there and I couldn't. So I'm like, all right, I have to rely on these tech company sites. So kicking and screaming, I went to Zillow and we said, okay, that one looks good. That one looks good. Let's go drive by this one. And when we drove by, sometimes we were pretty disappointed. It was like, no, it's not like what we thought. So I think the buyers kind of know that intuitively, that the pictures in most cases overstate what the house really is. So you'll see people kind of stalking your house. Don't be surprised if it's a really hot property that you find them in your yard or knocking on your door asking to get in. I don't think that's a safe thing to do, to let somebody just come on in. I had one seller a couple years ago. She goes, next thing I know, I've got somebody, with a flashlight looking in my front window. And then a week later, I found somebody inside my garage in the back. So some people just think, oh, it's for sale. I can just go crawl around this property, and they may not realize that it is occupied. Because we do try to stage it so it sort of looks very austere and like a model home. But it's really important to get ready for pictures, because that is your number one showing. That is where most of the homes are eliminated. When I first started in the industry back in the late 90s, the photography, even probably all the way through 2000, I don't know, 15, the quality of the imagery wasn't really that good. And buyers couldn't make a decision based on whatever online presentation might have been available back then. but now it's really good. They can zoom in, they can get all the detail, right? And they are making a decision as to whether or not they're going to see your home before they even go out driving around. So back then, the average buyer would probably look at anywhere from 20 to 40 homes in person. Now it's like maybe 1 to 5. It's not that many. And that's because of the online imagery that's so high quality. Some buyers actually are making offers on homes that they've never seen before, which makes me nervous as an agent representing the seller. I would, if they're going to make an offer, I'd feel better about them putting their own eyes on the property, because one thing I don't like doing is tying up a property and then the buyer comes and sees it and goes, oh, forget it. It wasn't what I thought. We won't let them do that. So I make sure before I tell the world we have a contract that them or their representative is here, and looking at the property for sure. Typically, another thing that sellers like to do is maybe they don't make improvements until after it's on the market, which is okay. It can be done. Maybe the feedback is, well, we don't like the carpet, or we don't like this, we don't like that. And if it's in your budget and you want to improve it, that's not a bad thing to do. But it's better if that was done before you go on the market. That way you're the best deal all at once, because a majority of your buyer population looking at homes is going to put eyes on it probably within 10 to 30 days of it going on the market. Anytime after that 30-day market days on the market period, it's kind of getting stale, I guess is the best way to describe it. And then of course we talked about pricing. Another thing that you should consider is when you're showing your home, whether or not you have enough showings. If you're, and there's some rule of thumb that I go by, if there's very, very few showings, that gives me an indication that the price is probably too high. Now, this is, up to $1 million. When you go over $1 million, there aren't that many buyers like that, but up to $1 million, the average number of showings per week is about 6 or 7. If you're not getting that, something's wrong. It's either marketing, it's either promotion, pricing, or the agent that you picked. It could be a lot of things. If you're on the market and you're getting offers, that's a clue that you are priced right. So it's just a matter of time before you get the right buyer. I had one seller a few years back that was very close, within 2% of being priced realistically. He sat on the market, wasn't selling with another agent. He hired me. We made that quick change and it sold within 11 days at full price. It's really, really critical to price it right. And if you price it on the low end of the spectrum, the buyers will come and they'll make their best offer. And that's what you want. You want them all fighting for the home so they come back and make their best offer. And the pictures absolutely are critical. Another mistake is actually trying to sell the home on your own. Now, there are some people that have done it before successfully, and that's fine. I'm not saying you have to use a real estate agent. You could have an attorney write up the contract, really. But the question is, are you getting the exposure? And then you have other agents that have buyers that might be reluctant to reaching out to you because they're going to have to go directly to you to negotiate their fee. And that's, I don't know, they're not comfortable with it. They won't show it until they know they're going to get paid, which is not a great way to start in the negotiating realm. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. We know how to do this. We do it all the time for our clients. We'll give you a really good idea what price range your home will sell for, how much the closing costs are, how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. We'll show you our cash offers and give you tips on how to position the home to get the most money. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, time for the lightning round of some of your hot new listings. Tell us about them.
Absolutely. So I have this adorable, very small, only 600 square foot home on Cascade Circle up in Florissant. It's actually on over 2 acres with 3 garage spaces. So cute and really great mountain getaway, priced in the upper 2s. A beautiful home in Woodland Park, very close to the hospital at 309. This home has spectacular views, an amazing home out in Peyton. in the mid fives, over 3,000 square feet. Another home that's owned by the VA on Storybook Lane just got a price reduced at $400,000 on 35 acres. It needs a little work, but at the end of the day, with sweat equity, you can make some money. A really cool home in Briargate and Fairfax on Camfield in the mid fours. And then an amazing Cripple Creek property that right now is configured as a duplex close to the casino, so you could live there and collect income. We also have a fabulous home we're featuring today on Pinecrest Road between 1:30 and 2:30 up in Woodland Park on 4 acres. Has a detached 3-car garage that measures 25 by 30 and a loafing shed. Amazing. We also have a spectacular patio home on Spanish Oak Terrace in Briargate, priced in the mid sevens that backs to the golf course with amazing views, completely updated, absolutely beautiful. Another rancher down by Peterson Air Force Base on Christie Court, priced at $425 in pristine condition. A beautiful home on Big Valley Drive with a detached man cave garage, priced at $725, very private 1/2+ acre lot. An amazing home on Broadmoor Bluffs, priced in the upper sixes. It actually backs to the land owned by NORAD. And then we have an amazing home on Open Sky Way. This spectacular custom home, over 7,000 square feet, 2.5 treed acres, total privacy, gorgeous views, multi-generational configuration. It's spectacular. And we have a few great lots, one on Arapahoe Drive and one on Hidden Valley, for somebody that wants to build or maybe bring in their RV and build their dream home or even a mountain getaway. So to find out about all of our coming soon homes, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or give us a call at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every weekend. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the program by going to barbhasthebuyers.com or listen to the podcast on all of the popular podcast platforms like Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, many, many others. Thanks for listening this week. To reach out to Barb, Thanks for listening this week. And to reach out to Barb, remember the number is 719-301-3900. Thanks for listening. Barb, have a great week.
Thank you. Have a fabulous weekend.
So that photo right there, I swear to